Hello everyone, this is Yangmingting Fang. I am a second-year doctoral student from the University of Alabama, and my presentation today is about facing and overcoming performance anxiety. What makes me interested in this topic is my own experience with performance anxiety. I often have a lot of anxiety right before performance, no matter it's a full solo recital or just performing one piece. Sometimes it goes well, occasionally it does not meet my expectation. For every performance, I know how much time and effort I've put into, and I am very well prepared. Still, I feel like my performance is depending on luck because of how much anxiety I am experiencing, and that is very frustrating. Therefore, I think it is necessary to face it and learn how to deal with it. Although it might be impossible to totally get rid of performance anxiety, there are still a lot of ways I can do and practice to control my anxiety level and to enjoy my performance more. On the other hand, as an educator, only if I understand performance anxiety more thoroughly and learn to enjoy my performance more, I am able to help my students to build a healthy performance habit. First of all, what is performance anxiety? Another name for performance anxiety is stage fright, which usually happens in situations when one is being judged by others. Stage fright is a common experience for musicians, as well as for public speakers, actors, athletes, and so on. Basically, what causes the anxiety is the fact of getting in front of people and being the center of attention. When someone is stressed out, there will be accompanying symptoms to affect the performance. Here is a list of possible symptoms. For example, there might be physical symptoms such as trembling hands and knees. The hands become either very sweaty or cold. Besides, the anxiety will cause an increase in heart rate and blood pressure, as well as rapid or irregular breathing and so on. Those changes might cause feeling of dizziness or cause actual heartbeat irregularities. Even worse, there might be increasing muscle tension, which will cause cramps. It's also much easier to get tired since fatigue develops very quickly when your body gets tensed up, which makes it extra challenging to accomplish the same task and achieve the same performance quality. In addition to those physical symptoms, the accompanying psychological symptoms seem to be more dangerous. First, and the very common one, is self-doubt. Before going on stage, performers with stage fright will start to question themselves, such as, can I really do it? Or what if I mess up, no matter how well prepared they are? It is also very challenging to concentrate on what they're doing and pay attention to the performance when they're so busy questioning themselves, being unconfident of their hard work and being unsure of what will happen next. Then, of course, it is very difficult for them to plan ahead and to play and feel as expected during the performance. Unfortunately, those physical or psychological symptoms will cause more side effects to the performance because of increasing pressure. For instance, distraction from the performance. The sign is that the performer starts to get distracted by task-irrelevant cues in their mind. Every little thing that is not related to music, right, might suddenly become so noticeable. One very unpleasant memory of mine is back to my sophomore year. While I was performing a studio recital, for no reason, I started to think about the topic of my final paper. And I also found out there was some dirty spots on that piano. Anyways, I've had my worst memory slips on that day. I still remember now how nervous I was on that day, but I guess I will never figure out how those weird thoughts just popped out in my head. Another side effect is that too much anxiety will result in less musicality. Because when we start to doubt ourselves, usually we worry about whether we will have memory slips or whether we can get through some technical demanding sessions. And then we forget to do the most important thing, which is listening. And when we forget to use our ears enough, we might rely on muscle memories a lot, and that is very dangerous. When our hands start to be on autopilot mode, it is nearly impossible to fix any memory slip because our ears and mind are not working together with our hands. Moreover, when worrying too much and listening too less, even there might luckily not be any memory slip or technique issue, the performance is still not successful because it is not musical. And the performers will not only feel relieved after the performance instead of being very satisfied with what just happened. Another common effect is losing tempo. When we get anxious, somehow we start to play unexpectedly fast and lose control. Also, we tend to overthink small mistakes. One little wrong note might stick in mind for a long time. When we become a perfectionist and get disturbed by one little mistake, usually we start to make even more mistakes. Overall, for those who are suffering from performance anxiety, they tend to avoid the situation because the quality of the performance get affected and the enjoyment of performing get diminished by their apprehension. According to Dr. Sandra Harris, a clinical psychologist at California State University, an avoidance cycle might occur. The cycle consists of fear, avoidance, limited experience, limited success, feelings of inadequacy, and fear. I really like what Dr. Harris usually tells her students. The more you avoid, the more you avoid. Indeed, when apprehension exists, if we choose to avoid it instead of facing the difficult situations and overcoming the anxiety, it is really hard to realize the enjoyment we're supposed to have when performing on stage. In general, all kinds of performance situations are potentially anxiety inducing, but still, there will be factors to make some situations more anxious than others. Now, let's look at some possible causes of performance anxiety. First, the potential impact of the performance. Is it an important degree recital? Is it an audition? Or is it your first paid performance? Or will the performance on that day mean a lot to your career? The potential impact of the performance will clearly determine the anxiety level. Second possible factor is who the audience is. Maybe you want to prove yourself to your colleague, or want to be a role model to your students, or want to demonstrate to your current or old teacher how much you've grown. Basically, there is more potential for the performer to get affected by anxiety when there are critical listeners sitting in the audience. Therefore, sometimes it's actually relatively relaxed to perform in front of a large group of people, but it's very scary to play in front of 2 or 3 colleagues or play in front of a few professors for jury. Since we value their opinions and we really care about how they look at us, we tend to feel more threatening when performing in front of them. Another important factor is, what does music mean to the performer? For those who have multiple identities, who just treat music as one of many hobbies in life, they are usually more relaxed when performing because they are simply sharing what they love and enjoying the performance opportunity on stage. However, for those professional performers who consider music as the one and only focus of their lives, then they will definitely put more pressure on themselves. What I just mentioned are some typical factors that determine the level of performance anxiety. And now I am going to focus on the methods of controlling performance anxiety. If possible, professional involved treatment is definitely the most effective way to help students dealing with performance anxiety. According to Dr. Robert Niederfer and Dr. Nancy Hessler, Eastman School of Music has several programs designed to help students who are suffering from performance anxiety. So to get it started, students are asked to do the test of attentional and the interpersonal style questionnaire, which is used to measure the characteristics of interpersonal style and attentional skill. After they pre-test students with the questionnaire, they will have specific self-treatment sessions. The programs combine training in relaxation and development of positive attitudes and images. In addition, they even have a biofeedback lab where a technician hooked students up to the equipment in order to measure the level of muscle tension. I think those students are very fortunate to have those professional involved programs, which can definitely guide them through the process of overcoming performance anxiety. So the student will not just simply practice more and more to make themselves less nervous. This method is definitely ideal and effective, but it is not very practical to a lot of us because it has to get the school involved and it requires great amount of time and funding to start the program from the very beginning and to make it work. Therefore, for us who don't have such professional program around, here are what we can do to cope with the performance anxiety. Cognitively, we need to treat the psychological arousal correctly. In other words, stay positive. Typical signs of autonomic nervous system arousal include sweaty hands and rapid heartbeat and so on. When it just naturally starts, we cannot stop. But what we can do is to change our attitude and read the signs differently. Imagine you are standing at the backstage 5 minutes before performance and your hands start to shake. Now, the best way to solve this problem is actually to interpret that as an excitement rather than anxiety, no matter if that's true or not to you. Moreover, keep sending positive signals to your brain. Instead of thinking that your hands are trembling because you're extremely nervous, you need to convince yourself, such as, this is exciting. It's such a beautiful program, and I've worked so hard. I'm sure the audience will love my performance, and I cannot wait to share with them. Why should we do this? Because we just tend to be fearful of the signs of arousal. Even though that's normal, we still tend to read it negatively and create even more anxiety for ourselves. But actually, our feelings are not directly caused by the feared event, but by our thinking about the event. So if we do some attitudinal change, we can also change our mind to reduce anxiety. So therefore, what we need to do is to accept the arousals and treat it positively. In fact, it will serve as stimulation and make the performance even better. Thinking back of some of my bad performances experienced years ago, I didn't do well because I wasn't nervous at all. I didn't care enough and I didn't feel any anxiety. I assumed that would be a good experience because the performance will be no pressure, but it turned out to be very unsuccessful. Therefore, I realized that we actually do need certain amount of the arousals, and so that we can be motivated by the science and control it to a good level. Then it will be helpful in enhancing the quality of performance. Similarly, we can learn to make some task-relevant self-verbalizations, which basically means that we need to encourage ourselves during the performance. I don't know about others, but I hear myself talking in my head all the time during the performance. Therefore, if we have to talk, we need to talk something positive and related to what we are doing on hand, such as stay focused, sounds good, or like more melody, and avoid negative self-statement such as, oh my god, another wrong note, or oops, a memory slip. Personally, I think it might be necessary as well to rehearse this part in mind before the actual performance. Since I might get distracted during the performance, if I have to talk to myself, it will be better to know in advance what I am going to say just in case I surprise myself. So when I practice, I will mark certain place in my score. And once I arrive there, I will give myself a little music related self talk, such as more legato, relax, more bass. And after a challenging section, I will tell myself, good job. That actually makes me feel much under control, as each self-talk mark on score serves as a landmark to me, and it helps me to keep track of the piece. And it's also interesting that I really get motivated when I tell myself, good job. For physical component, the main idea is to learn some relaxation techniques. The easiest and the most important one right before the performance is rhythmic breathing. That sounds like common sense, but when we're anxious and tense up our body, we tend to forget to breathe. Thus, it is extremely necessary to breathe rhythmically before the performance, and so we can calm down. A famous one is the 4-7-8 breathing technique, which involves like breathing in for 4 seconds, holding the breath for 7 seconds, and then breathing out for 8 seconds. Another useful method is progressive muscle relaxation training. When my teacher first introduced this to me in my lesson, I was completely amazed by how relaxed I can be and how much it can help me to create a total different sound on piano. Basically, just lay down and tense each part of your body from eyebrow to your toes. Breathe in for 3 seconds, hold your breath for 3 seconds, and then relax and breathe out for another 3 seconds. So for example, tense your eyebrow, breathe in, count 1, 2, 3, and hold your breath, count 2, 3, and then relax your eyebrow, breathe out, count 1, 2, 3, something like that. And you can do that through nose, mouth, and hands, etc. I recommend to do it before you go to sleep, and it will definitely be helpful if you do it multiple times per day. It is very necessary to build up a good relaxation habit so that when we play the piano, we can relax naturally. There are also many other exercises suggested by the doctors and the psychologists. An interesting one is imagery exercises that you close your eyes and put yourself mentally in a very pleasant place, along with some nice soft music and keep regular breathing, which is useful to facilitate relaxation as well. As a teacher, in addition to those relaxation methods, what I found very helpful as well is to understand the 4 performance stages. No matter when we are helping our students to get ready for their recitals or preparing for our own performance, that is always a good reference to help us make a healthy performance plan. First is preparation period. In this period, we focus on skills training and practice. That's one of the most important parts. Without hard work and enough practice, anxiety is not an excuse anymore. It's just simply the result of inadequate preparation, and nobody could help it. With good practice, the next thing is enough encouragement. We should encourage our students or ourselves, help to build confidence, as we need to trust the time and effort we've investigated. In addition to preparation in front of piano, what's equally important is to get ready physically, such as good nutrition, time for good sleep, and exercise, as well as relaxation exercise. With the help of a healthy pre-performance habit, it will be much easier to obtain the feeling of relaxation. Second stage is confrontation, the period of time immediately before performance. It is important to have planned strategies to confront the anxiety, such as breathing. Often, with increased anxiety, people tend to forget breathing, yet it's an essential part. Take a deep breath before stepping on stage and take a few seconds to calm down and breathe again before we put our hands on piano. That will help us tremendously. I still remember my last recital. For the first half, I was very tensed up, and I didn't even realize I was holding my breath all the time. Then I ended up playing much faster than I planned it to. And during the intermission, my teacher came to backstage and he made me do the relaxation exercise, which is to breathe rhythmically. Magically, after that, I feel relaxed and I calm myself down. Then for the second half, I sound totally different and I did enjoy a lot more on stage. The third stage is during the performance. Typically, the anxiety decreases in the second minute of performance. Now is good time to make some encouraging self-statement, like I have mentioned previously, such as stay calm or stay focused. The last stage is after the performance. Although now performance is over, don't forget to reinforce success. Of course, we need to learn from the performance and figure out what we can do better and make a plan to improve. But at the same time, being self-critical, it is also necessary to be positive because now we have to get ready to begin the preparation phase again for the next performance. The last part of the presentation is to share some tips of overcoming performance anxiety. Some of them I learned from my own teacher, and some of them are from the survey that Dr. Sandra Harris sent to the professors in conservatories and the university music department in the United States. Yes, here, thanks to Dr. Harris again, her articles truly helped me tremendously to learn how to overcome my performance anxiety. First of all, solid preparation. Knowing the music is the first and most important thing to reduce performance anxiety. How is it even possible to get confident when we cannot play well? In order to ensure thorough preparation, suggestions including slow practice, practice voice separately, or practice with eyes off. Also, besides off-piano practice is equally necessary. For instance, score study, think through the piece, and memorizing away from the instrument. Since it is also not good to over-practice, therefore, mental practice at the same time helping us to strengthen our memory and understanding to the piece. It also provides us some opportunity to rest our hands, but still being able to practice. The next one is encourage performance experience. In order to overcome performance anxiety, we will have to face it, which is to perform as much as possible, value each performance opportunity, and evaluate them afterwards. Performance here does not limit to formal recitals. In fact, it can be counted as a performance as long as there is audience there. Even if it's just one person watching us, it will feel totally different than practice alone. And the performance environment can even be at home. It doesn't always have to be intense. Sometimes performing at a safe space will also be helpful to retrieve the relaxed feeling later. Another thing we can do while performing for people around us is to record and videotape the performance. First is to listen back. Very often we don't sound exactly as we hear. Sometimes we feel like we're being very expressive and the sections are contrasting enough. But it turns out to be flat and boring sometimes in recording. The best way to fix it is definitely to record and listen back to how we sound. Then be critical and be our own teacher. Videotape is also important as we can see directly through the video how we look like to audience. It is a great chance to do some posture check, as a lot of time we are not creating the sound we want because of wrong posture. For example, not legato enough might because we're not incorporating our wrist enough, or we sound too heavy, we don't sound relaxed enough might because one or more parts of our body got tensed up, such as head or shoulder. As well, healthy mindset is important. Basically, is to have a positive attitude, treasure the experience, focus on the enjoyment of sharing what we love and what we get with our audience. I know sometimes the anxiety comes from the audience when some of them are personally relevant to us and we really want to impress them. But what we need to keep in mind is that no matter their colleagues, professors, or our friends, or even judged from the competition, they're not sitting there to pick up our wrong notes and waiting for us to make mistakes. They're sitting there to encourage us to listen to the good things in our music and to provide us valuable feedback, and more importantly, to enjoy our performance. So don't be panic, just be ourselves and play our music, and it will be fine. Also, don't forget about physical care. Eat well, rest well, do some exercise. Some teachers also suggested physical therapy, such as Alexander technique. It is a good exercise to relax and to improve posture and movement of our body. We can find videos online, try it at home, or if you're very interested in that, you can even find private teachers nearby to take lessons with them. As well, regular relaxation exercise is important, such as breathing technique and the exercise I mentioned previously in my presentation. And another good choice is yoga. Well, so here is the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please feel free to email me if you have any question or comment. And if you would like to share with me some effective exercise to relax and reduce the anxiety, it will also be highly appreciated. Thank you.